Welcome back to the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Today, every day is special around here, but today's a little extra special because we have our shaman back in the house, Christina Deering. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun.
Oh man, the questions I want to ask you, Christina. So she has this podcast called You Unlimited, and I was just telling her I was sitting in gymnastics listening to her with a guest, Dana Grant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that episode just got my wheels turning. And I was like, I need Christina back on the show. I talked to Brooke about it and I was like, I talked to Christina in person. I listened to her podcast and I want to talk to her about 4 different things. And Brooke was like, could talk to Christina all day long. Let's get her back. So we're going to be a little selfish today, asking Christina things we're wondering, we're thinking, but we also we know that it relates to everybody else. And a huge word that was kind of coming up for me thinking about Christina and what you do and how you help people is success.
Yeah.
So success was in my human design chart as like, that's one of my important words. And when I learned that, it didn't really resonate with me. And so I've been thinking about success ever since then. And I feel like success is whatever you put like your meaning on it, you know? And I want to know for you, Christina, when you think about success and how you help women, what that word means to you and how you help people with success in their life.
It's such a great question because success, just like our souls, it's every single one of us will have a different soul blueprint and a different version of success. And I think so many of us are trying to fit into this cookie cutter version of success, which is why it doesn't feel good a lot, which is why people are like, I'm overworking myself. I'm, wanting to make more money, trying to push. And I think as a collective, we're starting to wake up to say like, is this my version of success, or is this a version of success that someone has kind of pinned on me and now it's not feeling good in my body? And a lot of people are recognizing that maybe when they're not listening to the intuitive ping that's saying, this isn't really the life that you want to build, but you're building it anyways. That's often when our body starts to speak to us really loudly. Like we'll feel physical manifestations of living out of alignment. So to me, success is just about like truly living in our most aligned version of self and honoring the gifts that we were given, giving them back into the collective and being paid abundantly for them. Because in my mind, when we're being paid abundantly for our gifts, one, we love leaning into our gifts. Like it's so exciting when we get to honor the thing that lights us up. Like when you were children, think about all the things that you loved to do when you were little. Like for me, it was like I had the hairbrush and I was singing and I was putting on plays and, my parents were like, these plays make no sense, but whatever, but I was so lit up and I was so happy. And so that was me just living in my purpose. That was me feeling like so grateful and excited. And so I just continued to follow that. And the reason it's so powerful to get paid abundantly for that as well is when that's basically us then receiving powerful energy to then allow us to step into a next level version of ourselves. Because money is just a tool to be able to say yes to more things that are in alignment with our soul. And so to me, I truly believe success is honoring your unique blueprint, fully going all in on you, allowing yourself to feel that alignment, no matter what anyone else says. And from that, I believe that is our own unique version of success. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. And I love that you called out the money piece, the wealth piece. That's something we really want to talk about, is this living abundantly and why we shouldn't be afraid to ask for what we're worth, and how we reframe those beliefs, those thoughts, really change them to not be scared of the success. Because like you said, if we are stepping out of the box of this cookie cutter, how it should look, trying to do our own thing, right? Andrea and I always talk like, this is all just a game. It's all made up.
Yeah.
Like energetically, how are we feeling? What do we feel like we're worth? And it can kind of be a mind F of like, what am I doing when you're going against the norm? So there is that piece of faith and spirituality that as a shaman, we know you speak to. So for those that didn't listen to your first episode, which they need to go back to, will you kind of explain what is a shaman? And then let's talk about the spirituality and the faith piece when it comes to visions and success and being in alignment with your truth.
Yeah. So a shaman is basically someone there's so many different versions of shamans, right? Like some of them are going to help you with plant medicine. Some of them are essentially like a lot of what I do is I help people tap into their their soul and their truest expression of self. And the way that I do that is I connect to the spiritual realm and I bring down information and I share that with someone who they can validate that information in their body. We know what our truth feels like. It's like going on a first date and being like, oh, this is the best first date I've ever been on. This is my truth. This feels aligned versus going on the first date. It looks good on paper, but you can just feel it in your body. It's not your person, not right or wrong. It's just not your person. That's how we feel in our body when we feel our truth. So a shaman is essentially helping you connect to the spiritual realm, which many people will call our intuition, maybe, our angels and guides, whatever that could look like, to bring down information that's going to help us with our current reality, create what we actually desire. So a lot of what I do is I help, people unlock their intuition, which basically means like, let me tune in and see what's in alignment with me. But a big part of that shamanism is heal what's in the way of what you want. So that can look very different across the board. So like Reiki is a form of Japanese shamanism. So we're moving energy, right? We're starting to cleanse and clear the chakras that are holding old stories that are out of alignment with where we want to go. Like when someone feels like they can't speak their truth, their throat chakra is blocked. We have to open that. So that's kind of what shamanism is. It's about moving energy so that you can get into your deepest alignment with your truth by connecting to the spiritual realm, bringing down information, and also helping people move that energy that's no longer in alignment with where they want to go. Does that make sense first?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
And with energy, so I just did your workshop for vision boarding because I had never made one before. And it was one of those things that I was waiting for the perfect amount of magazines and cut it out and have the perfect board and, all the things that make us like never do the thing. And you did one that was like through Zoom with a bunch of other people and had music and the energy was up and it was so much fun. And my document with my pictures is not perfect, but you really inspired me that like, just get your vibe up and just start and just really think about what you want and what is in alignment with this year and stretch yourself and think big. And so I want to talk to you. I want you to talk about like energetic alignment and setting intentions with this energetic vibe behind it, because I just think it's so interesting and something wild happened when I did it. Like, you being there with that idea of energetic intention setting, it was really powerful. So can you talk about what that is and how people can tangibly kind of do this in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about energy, the thing that I always like to tell people is like, our thoughts have an energetic weight attached to them. So like if we're consistently thinking, let's talk about money for a second. Like if we're consistently thinking like, I can either get paid doing something that I don't like, or I'm going to be a starving artist. This was something that I received a lot when I was younger. I love to be a singer. Like I love to do that. And I kept getting the same thing where it was like, no, you can either get paid to do something you hate, or you can be a starving singer, and it was like, okay, so the dialogue I'm receiving is I can't get paid doing what I love. Mm-hmm. So I carried that heavy thought in my consciousness for a really long time. And so when we think about energy, what is the energetic weight of the thoughts that we're holding on to? So it's really important for us to start to get crystal clear on what's the internal dialogue I keep telling myself about money, about what I desire, about living in alignment, about partnership, about everything. And so it's really powerful for us to start to say like, is this feeling heavy in my body? And if so, I'd like to start moving that energy out of my body so that one, I'm raising my frequency, but two, now I'm taking inspired action forward. Mm-hmm. So we want to raise our frequency and keep moving forward. And the important thing about moving forward is I think it's really important for us to just remember to take inspired action versus just action. Like this is where the intuition comes in, because the collective thinking is do more to make more, right? And sometimes we can do something that's really powerful and really potent and really aligned that doesn't require a lot of effort because it's so aligned. And that's the thing that we need to help us quantum leap. So it's really important to start to think about like everything is energy, money, ourselves, you, this microphone, everything. So can I start to get really crystal clear around one, the energy in my space, the energy in my body, the energy in my thoughts, the energy of what I'm going after? And can I start to get myself into alignment with what I want? So I think that's the really important part, is just recognizing if everything's energy, does this have dense energy attached to it, or is this light energy? Because we are the average of all of our thoughts when it comes to a density perspective. And so if we can start to clear those limiting beliefs, our energetic blueprint gets higher and higher, lighter and lighter. Then we're at the energetic match of what we're manifesting in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is do what you need to do to raise the vibration of your space, your thoughts, how you're dressing, how you feel about yourself. Like I just keep hearing elevate, elevate, elevate.
Yeah, absolutely. David R. Hawkins has this map of consciousness. This is the thing that really like had me connect to this concept was David R. Hawkins has this map of consciousness. And basically he says like, every emotion that we have is a certain energetic frequency. So when we think about peace and love and the thing that we're manifesting, that's operating at a 500 or a 600 when it comes to the energetic frequency. Now, when we're in states of shame or guilt or I really shouldn't be charging that much, I feel guilty charging that person this, that's operating at a 50. So what that's telling you is you're actually out of alignment with what you want to manifest. So there's clearing that needs to happen to get you back into that frequency of what you're manifesting. So it's not just like conceptually like vibrate high, it's about honoring those things that have us vibrate lower, taking the time to love on those parts of ourselves so that we can cleanse and clear it. Because I do think a lot of people will kind of do the spiritual bypass thing where they're like, I have to be happy. I just have to be happy so that way I can manifest. That's not genuine. And it's not a felt sensation in the body. We have to honor the things that have us feel a lower vibration, like the stories that we're all told when we're children or experiences that we've had that make us feel a certain way about a situation or what's possible. That's, I think, where that shamanic healing comes in, where we really have to move the energy that we've been holding on to, that we are labeling as truth. It's a truth, but it's not our divine truth, because our divine truth will feel best in our body and it will feel light.
Oh, that's so good. So this cleansing, this clearing, what type of tangible tips could you give people who they understand what you're saying, they want to clear it, but they don't want to stay stuck there? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways that we move energy. I think the body is an incredible tool, and you guys are so familiar with movement and how important it is with the body. So for instance, if I'm feeling a lot of anger, for me, that means like I have to just get the rage out. Like I need to honor what's coming to the surface, because what's happening is we're starting to uproot it. If we're feeling that sensation of anger or sadness, instead of saying, oh, let me put this in a shoebox again, it's still going to keep living in your body. Honor it. Let it move so that it comes out of you. So what does that look like? For me, sometimes it's punching a pillow. Like, it's like, I just need to get it out, because if we're not punching a pillow, we are verbally assaulting the people that are in our atmosphere. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're not getting it out of our body, we're taking it out on all the people around us by being rude to our partners, our children, whatever that could look like, people at work. So instead, we need a safe place for us to start to process these big emotions that just want to be seen and witnessed and loved on. So it could be punching a pillow. It could be listening to Sarah McLachlan so that you start crying. It could be walking outside and imagining every time my foot hits the pavement, I'm leaving that frustration behind. It's behind me now. So it's about really setting intentions on how am I moving the energy? I just want to release it all the way behind me. I want to get it up and out so that I'm then able to say, okay, now I've moved it. Because I think this is sometimes where people will stay in therapy for like 40 years is because they're just talking about it. They're not moving it. They're adding energy to it by talking about something over and over and over again, but they're not actively moving the energy. And so that's the piece that I think is missing and so important is when it comes to your conscious awareness, like this isn't working for me. We don't just want to keep thinking about it. We want to now move it.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And that makes so much sense too. It's like you keep hitting this roadblock because you're not moving it like physically. Your
You're
body
just reliving it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And another piece too, I'm currently reading a book about success and money, and she talks a lot about forgiveness. And I think this is kind of a missing piece sometimes in therapy. If you are focusing on, journaling, or you're in therapy, or you're trying to like really work through some emotional stuff, or like, it's a big part. Like when you think about money, is forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made, forgiving yourself for holding this resentment to your parents for teaching you that it was this or that way, the starving artist way. And so that you can have the present you move forward in a new way, letting go of those things and not letting it continue to be a roadblock moving forward. Yeah. Because, you can't help it. Other people's opinions on what they said and how they acted affects your ability to be successful, whether it's financially, in relationships, with your confidence. Success can mean so many different things. And so I don't know why I'm feeling this like urge to talk about forgiveness and how important it is to not stay stuck in your past when it comes to wanting to be successful or wanting to have a new path forward. Do you have any advice on how people forgive and kind of move on from their past mistakes?
Absolutely. This is huge. This is a big one. Some of my biggest healings have been around, even where I didn't know that there were things to forgive, taking a look at my closest relationships and writing letters to start to get it out. I'm not giving them the letters. I'm actually going to burn the letter. This is like not a letter that I would want them to ever read, but taking a minute to say, like, if I could just unfiltered say whatever I wanted to say to this person right now, how would I get it out on paper? Or how would I just say it out loud or scream it out loud or just start to move that energy around it? That, I believe, allows us again to uproot where that energy has been living. Because sometimes we'll have a physical manifestation where we're like, oh, digestive issues. Like, I feel like I'm still holding on to that thing and I'm not letting myself like release it. Okay, so it's living in your sacral or your solar plexus. So let's start to move it up to our conscious awareness, into our head and into our throat chakra, and then move it out of the body. Right. And so for me, that took me actually writing letters to each of the people that I was closest to in my life to recognize, like, what did my childlike version of me want to say to this person? Acknowledge that. The second we can start to actually move that energy around it, then we want to alchemize it. So we've gotten it up and out, and now we want to actually bring an earth element in to start to alchemize that. So I use fire, right? I want to burn it. I set an intention around, as I'm burning this letter, I'm releasing any and all energy that's attached to it. And so I set that intention. So that's one of the ways to start to move it. And the other thing that I think sometimes we often forget about is our subconscious mind does not know the difference between them and us. So when we're saying things like that effing blah, 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 our subconscious mind thinks that we're saying that about ourselves, right? So our subconscious mind does not know the difference between this person and this person, because ultimately, if we think about it from the shamanic perspective, we are all different versions of God all around us. So this is one way of thinking about it, where if we think about like the God within me is honoring the God within you. If I hate you, I essentially hate me. This is one way of thinking about it. So not to mention our subconscious mind just simply does not know the difference between them and us. It's still an internal conversation. Therefore, we are internalizing it and making it about us. We are putting it into the cells of our body. And it's imperative for us to start to recognize, like, the only person, the phrase that people say is it's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die, right? That's how the subconscious works. We're taking the poison. We think if I hold this grudge long enough, maybe they'll change or maybe they'll know. But ultimately, the only one that's suffering is you, and you're keeping your frequency down when you're doing it. So it's really, really powerful for us to start to recognize, like, one, let me just start to move it. But two, forgiveness feels really good in my body. What if that person just did the best that they could and that's enough? Just like we're doing the best that we could with the tools that we have, and that's enough. So I really, really love too what you were talking about, not just forgiving others, but forgiving ourselves. So important. I actually have like conversations with myself now where when I notice the internal dialogue that I'm having with myself, where it's like, let me shift that. I'll actually say out loud, I forgive you, Christina. I love you. It's okay. You didn't do it on purpose. Like, just a micro example. We had my older sister's birthday party on Saturday. And so we decorated and we made it all cute. And then I went to go get my sister. We brought her out. My dad missed the surprise. So my internal dialogue was like, oh, shoot, I messed that up. Like, I feel bad. My dad missed the big surprise. And I noticed myself kind of going down the spiral a little bit, where I was like, oh, I should have made sure that everyone was in the room. And then I was like, wait, you didn't intentionally leave your dad behind. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I love you, Christina. I'm literally doing the dishes. And I said, I love you, Christina. I forgive you. It's okay. And I sent him a text and he was like, I literally forgot. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, thank you for thinking of me. I love you. But it's no big deal. And so it was like, wow, to think like something so minute that we hold on to for so long is just like, it's just, if we take a minute to just clear the energy around it, like, I love you. You're doing the best that you can. And that's enough. It's like, it's life-changing.
I love that. I love the tangible tips of like, what can you say to yourself? How do you actually forgive, right? Whether it is writing the letter or just acknowledging the spiral and not letting the spiral get too deep. Because I think that's such a struggle when you're not aware of the thoughts you're even thinking. And these thoughts are so automatic for you. It's like the first step is to even become aware of that spiral. So I'm curious for you, is that like meditation, or how do you recommend people even get aware of this vibration and kind of where their emotional home is?
Such a good question. So first of all, we are not our thoughts. We're the ones observing our thoughts. So we can't control our thoughts when they first start. Like they're just going to happen. But I do want everyone to start to recognize, because this actually really changed my life, was recognizing like, oh, I'm not just the first thing that pops into my head. I'm the one that can observe that. Therefore, I can actually decide whether or not I want to keep that one or not. And so from there, that's when we start to say, okay, wow, is that one serving me? I like to use cognitive behavioral therapy when I'm starting to move some of those lower vibrational thoughts out. And basically what it's going to have you do is just talk about like, what is the situation at hand? So if I use the example of my sister's birthday party, right? The situation is my older sister turned 40 and we held a surprise party for her. What are my thoughts? I'm like, I forgot to make sure my dad was in the room. So you go down this pattern of saying like, what is the thought? What is the accompanying feeling? And what's my behavior coming out of that? So my thought was, oh, shoot, I messed this up. My thinking or my feeling is guilt, right? And then my behavior is think about it all day. Okay, is that thought based in fear or love? And anytime you're doing this exercise, it's because it's based in fear or you wouldn't be doing the exercise. So it doesn't feel good in the body. So then it's about really taking a minute to say, well, what's a thought that's also based in love that could also be true about the situation? Which are some of the thoughts I just kind of walked us through, which is, let me just have an open dialogue with my dad. I didn't do it intentionally. It's okay. Everything's good. He actually caught it at the tail end. I think I was catastrophizing it, and then what's my emotion? It's neutral. I feel better. What's my behavior? I reach out to my dad to make sure he's okay, and then from there, it's like, oh, wow, I just cleared that in 2 minutes versus thinking about it for 48 hours or however long we do those things. So I think sometimes just getting it out on paper or having an unbiased person to kind of like, talk things through. That's what I do with my clients. If you're seeing someone that's, a healer or someone else that can give you an unbiased perspective, I think that's really important. Then it'll help you really move the energy around it. Because I think sometimes we go to like the biased person that will just take our side no matter what, or they'll tell us that we suck. And it's like, wait, neither of those are really working to help me evolve and expand. And so I think having an unbiased perspective is really, really supportive. And that could be a friend, but you just want to make sure that they have your best interest in mind.
Yeah. I think why I love you so much, Christina, is everything comes back to love with you. Like you're just such a loving presence. And it's like, it's all leading back to love. And what I want to talk about is something that you coached me on. I did a discovery call with Christina that was so powerful. And she turned the money talk into love talk and really changed my perspective with how to think of it like a loving relationship. And so first of all, I can't wait for you to dive into this, but I want to thank you because it's changed the game for me because I'm really good at relationships and I love loving on my people and thinking about how to have a healthier relationship. And so for the first time, it like shifted things in a way that I never had before. So thank you. And I would love for you to talk through, and I don't remember exactly how we got here, but how to think of money like a relationship and how people can tangibly kind of start to weave that into their daily, weekly practices.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful. So what's cool is, so you hear people talk about like money dates and things like that. And what I think is really interesting about that is we also think about money sometimes from like all right, I got to bookkeep. I got to make sure that I have everything in line. I got to be budgeting. We bring a lot of like stress sometimes into that conversation. And it would be like going on a first date and being like, okay, where do you want to live? How many kids do you want? What does that look like? Let's talk numbers. Let's talk serious. And it's kind of like, we're losing the fun. And it's like, if you think about money as like a relationship with someone, does that person want to stay if you're immediately like, let's get serious, let's get down to the numbers, like, let's go. Like for me, I'm kind of like, I want to get to know you before I start talking about how many kids I want and where I want to live. And like, I want to trust you. I want to know that you're going to be there. So like, let's take a minute to get to know each other, to have gratitude for each other, to love on one another. And I think so often we like, demonize that experience or money or whatever it might be. And it makes the whole process of being in relationship with money, it makes it feel really, really heavy. And so for me, what I had to start doing when I was starting to get in communication with money is I took a really deep look into like, how did it feel to be in relationship with me if I was money? Like if money was just taking a minute to say like, hey, how does it feel to like collaborate with Christina, to be in a relationship with her? And when I was first doing this exercise, I was like, if money was a person, how would money speak? Money would say, well, she's avoidant. She cancels on me. She avoids, she doesn't look at me. She doesn't care about me. She needs me too much. Like she uses me. You know, all these words were coming to mind where it was like, huh, if I was a person, would I want to show up where someone was needy, wanted to use me, only cared about me when they wanted something? No, I would probably run in the opposite direction. And so I was like, well, I wonder how money would like to converse with me and connect with me. And so I let money speak. And money was saying, like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel gratitude. I want to feel like you actually care about me. I want to, you know, be in communication with you. I want to experience excitement. I want to, you know, move through you and create something beautiful. And so I was like, well, wow, that's a totally different conversation. How can I start implementing that in my day to day? And it was like, okay, so now when I go shopping or now when I'm, you know, at the grocery store, I just pause to have that moment of gratitude for like, I'm so grateful I get to have organic foods for my family. I'm so grateful that I get to be supported in the way that I'm being supported. So I start looking at money in a different way through gratitude. And I started to play games with myself too, where I think it was Abraham Hicks that talked about this game where it was like, if you're going to go shopping and you're wanting to kind of change your mentality around money, when you go to check out, let's say you spend $100 at Target, tell yourself that you just made $1,000. I want you to add a zero and I want you to say, oh, you just made $1,000. So start to change that dialogue a little bit where you're saying like, okay, instead of being nervous about something going out, how can I bring some higher vibrational energy into it? Well, everyone loves receiving. Let's just internally tell ourselves that we just received something. So it's about starting to kind of play a game with the experience, have it feel more light, have it feel more joyful, be in relationship in that way. And money will start to flow more because you're more in that state of flow yourself. So money is what we are. So if we are in flow, if we are in gratitude, if we are in excitement, then money is flowing. Money is in gratitude. Money is in excitement. And so if we're in scarcity, so is money. So if we're trying to grip something, money is like, I don't want to stay here. It's like relationships. When someone's gripping, like, I don't really want to hang out with that person. It's not fun. So it's about really recognizing what is my energy when I'm in relation with money, because my energetic stamp right now is being stamped on money. How do I want that to feel? What do I want to stamp onto money such that I'm now in an experience and a collaborative, you know, moment with money so that it's really flowing back and forth and we're doing this kind of beautiful dance with one another.
Do you give anybody advice that's paying off debt to like because when you hear that word, even debt, you think of like, oh, I'm behind. I got to get caught up. Oh, my money's going to this instead of like what I really want to buy. How could you tie like a higher vibe to paying off debt?
Good question.
Yeah, I love it. So debt is essentially an advance on blessings received, you know? So I think we start to really shift into no matter what, money is money is money. And so if we received it through, let's say, a credit card, we still received money. We had access to money. That's amazing. I'm so grateful that I got to experience the thing that I got to experience. And so it's an advance on blessings received. It's blessings received no matter what. Take the advance part altogether out. I received blessings. Amazing. Let me start to change that energy altogether. And so it's starting to look at this experience of, again, instead of demonizing the debt, start to look at it like I'm so eternally grateful for what I just received. And like really starting to deepen into that experience of saying like, I'm so grateful that I got to have that. I'm so grateful that that's what this brought me into. How can I shift my energy around what I'm actually, the story I'm telling myself about debt? Am I in shame? Am I in guilt? Do I need to start to alchemize that experience altogether? And the other thing that I like to say too is, you know, when we're investing in something, we're asking ourselves to expand. And that can feel very unnerving to the nervous system. We're stepping into a new version of ourselves. So let's say we had a big investment, we stepped into that space. All of a sudden, there's a part of us that's in fight, flight, or freeze. And then we're like, I don't even want to do anything with the investment right now. I'm kind of freaking out. So it's so important for us to say, like, when we're investing in something, it's actually asking us to step into that next level version of ourselves. It's really, really important. But here's what we have to do to start to get into that next level version of self, expand safely into her or him, right? Is we have to start to calm our nervous system around it to kind of catch up to, okay, I put a lot of energy in this space. Now let me become her. Now let me become him. How do we do that? We normalize success in our body. And so this is really, really imperative, is normalizing success in the body, is normalizing this next level version of ourselves in the body. I created something called the 7-figure shift for that reason, which is something I would love to gift to anyone that's tuning in, because this is an exercise that I channeled that completely changed the game for me, where it was like, if I'm stepping into a portal that's going to ask me to expand, if I'm investing 25K, 50K, 100K in this space, okay, I'm stepping into a new version of myself. And so now I have to normalize what that feels like in my body versus freezing or not doing anything with it or whatever that case may be, or being angry at it, right? I've been in the case of all of these things, right? But then I realized, oh, I got to just normalize success in my body. I got to normalize this next level version of me in my body. And so I channeled this exercise that really helped me say, like, it's normal to be successful. It's neutral to feel successful. It's normal to step into this new version of me. So I believe this is like the tool in everyone's manifestation toolkit that everyone is missing, because I'm telling you, this is the thing that will help you raise your prices. This is the thing that will help you start to say, like, okay, if I'm investing this, I get to expand into this, which means I get to raise my prices too. Right. So I think it's the both and I think we have to start to bring some like balance into it. And what that means is, let me get my nervous system on board with stepping into this new version of self.
I love this. So
I love that, because it is like, like you want it, but your body is not on board. And subconsciously you're like, oh, yeah, okay, funny, you think?
Yeah.
But like logically you're like, how the hell do I do that? But your intuition, and you know you want it. So I want to go back to this manifestation, the new year, the exercise that Andrea did with you. And just for anyone listening, you think it's still the beginning of the year. And so whatever is calling you, what you're wanting to do with this new year you have, whether it's a marriage, a kid, a new house, your health, like you have this idea, you want it. What would you tell them to do with this to make it a reality?
Such a good question. Here's what we have to do. One, we want to start getting really clear on what we want. I think a lot of times we're just on autopilot and we're just busy, and we kind of don't set intentions around what we want. And so I saw this play out really clearly when I was supporting my mentor was selling her mastermind. And so I noticed it was me and a counterpart. And I was like, okay, I'm about to take 30 calls in 2 weeks. That's a lot of time and energy. So I'm like, if I'm going to spend my time and energy doing that, I want to get really intentional about what I desire for these calls. So for me, I set some powerful intentions out loud. I was like, I am so grateful that the people that are stepping on these calls are ready to lean in. They are so excited to step into this next portal of possibility. They can pay with so much ease. This is the next step. They know it. And I'm just so grateful to be, a conduit for them to be able to step in and say yes to themselves. Right. So I set that intention around, like, how am I going to spend my time and energy? So what I was recognizing was the leads are being split right down the middle. Everyone on my calls were saying yes because they were ready. I decided to ask the energy to shift in this way. Again, we are directing energy all the time, whether we're doing it consciously or subconsciously. And so when we set intentions, we are directing energy in a way that feels like it's in alignment. And so what I noticed was everyone who jumped on the call was like, yes, 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 here's my credit card. They were literally texting me on Christmas Day pictures of their credit cards. Like, please get me in. I'm so excited. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I gotta like be present with my child here. Okay. But it was like wild to just witness what was happening, because I asked for the people that were in alignment with the space, right? They were already in alignment, but I just said, I'm available for them too. Allow the two of us to meet so that they can step into what feels good. Now, my counterpart did not do that. And he was like, I can't get anyone on the phone. The people that I am getting on the phone, everyone's saying no. He's like, I'm pretty sure none of them even have an income at all. He's like, what is happening? So he was having like an opposite experience. And so it really kind of blew my mind to recognize, like, when we get really intentional about what we want and we say it out loud and we feel it, this is number one. Like, people will just check the box and say, like, okay, I did the thing. I set my intention. Did you feel it in your body though? because that's number one. You have to feel it when you're setting that intention. Like it's already happened. I am so grateful for, and say it like it's already happened. I bring myself to the point of tears when I get so excited about something happening because I feel it so deeply in my body. And what you're doing is you're already connecting to a future timeline. And so you're just collapsing the timelines. I feel like it's real right now. So that's a really important part is one, set the intentions. Two, start to get really present in your body so that you can say like, what do the intuitive pings feel like? So for me, an intuitive ping feels like an expansion, right? Versus like a constriction. Like I want to lean in. Something's exciting about it for me. Like something makes me just want to do it. And so then I'll get the intuitive ping. So that second step is get familiar with your body sensations. Take a minute to get present, whether that's meditation or just simply taking a minute to get mindful. Look around the room. How many things do you see that are green? This is you being present to your body, to the present moment. And that's going to allow you to then step further into your intuition. And then from there, we have to start healing what's in the way because we're going to get the intuitive ping. And then we're going to say, who am I to do that thing? What if I build it and no one comes, right? All of these things start to happen where we start to get those fears that come through, which is where that 7-figure shift comes in. That is going to help you normalize this next level version of yourself. So I think that's a really important tool is like, that's going to help you heal all the limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, if you will.
I love it. I feel like the missing piece so much in this expansion in any realm is the spirituality piece and the energetic piece. Yeah. It's like, I want to set a goal. Why do I never meet the goal? You know, there is so much more to it. And I think once you've experienced it, it's a lot easier to understand. And so I love that you're available, that you're a person that people can use to walk them through this. Like my vision boarding experience was so much fun. I was on the verge of tears the whole time. I was so excited. Yeah. And it just speaks to like, you understand that like all the components needed in order to bring this to life, right? Yeah. Feeling it in your body and understanding like life is going to happen. Things are going to get in the way. You're going to have these conditioned thoughts that get in the way again, or they try to, right? Yeah. And I think having that person that can kind of hold your hand along the way is important, or listening to your podcast or following you. I think you're just such a great person to have in your corner for any way you want to expand. I don't think it has to be financially or in business. I truly think this is like, I want to become a runner. You know, I want to become someone that works out regularly or starts to care about my health. I think knowing what you want to feel in the midst of that and knowing it's something you can energetically really set intentions about, it's amazing. Can use you for all of this. So please tell the people where they can find you, follow you, work with you. If they want to just jump on a call like I did, it was incredible.
I'm so grateful. This was so much fun. And yeah, if you guys want to tune in, so I, as they were just mentioning, so the UN Limited podcast, clearly if you're listening to this, you love podcasts. So that's a really fun space to play. I had both of them on, which is amazing. So both of your episodes were incredible. And just so much incredible feedback for both of you. So thank you so much for giving into that space. So it's the UN Limited podcast. Also, I'm on Instagram. So I am Christina Deering. You can find me there on really all social platforms, but I love to play on Instagram, and I'm going to start bringing back Wigging Out Wednesdays, where I'm going to put my wig on and start to pull cards again.
I love that.
Which is just really fun. It's just a way to validate what people already know. I think really what we're looking for, like we already kind of know what to do. We just need someone to tell us it's okay and to just do the thing. So I think that's where coaches, healers, or anyone outside of us can kind of give us like that little like validation. I feel like that's what we need when we're doing something new. And that can be really powerful. So I think I'm going to start bringing that back on Wednesdays because people always ask about it. And I have a lot of fun throwing on wigs and just pulling cards.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And for the 7-figure practice that you designed, where can people grab that? Could we put the link in the show notes, or what would be easiest?
Yeah, I think both. So you put the link in the show notes, similar to what you were saying. So you can use this to manifest anything, whether it's like, I want to bring my health back into alignment. I want to step into, partnership with someone that I desire. I want to find the love of my life. I do want to make 7 figures. It's a tool that has you step into your next version of self, whether that's like whatever you desire for that to be. It's going to help you normalize that in your body, and it helps draw it into your current reality so much faster because it feels normal. Therefore, when something feels neutral, it has no choice but to come into your reality. It's like, yeah, that's the norm. Let's bring it in. Versus if something feels like it's outside of yourself, then it will remain outside of you. Let's have it feel neutral. Let's have it feel normal. So that tool could be for anyone. But for those that aren't going to click the link, you can just go christinadeering.com/shift. And that's a way to download it as well.
Okay. Perfect. Oh, I'm so excited. I just think the topic of manifestation can be really scary. It can be really woo-y. But Christina, the way you break it down and you not only give tangible tips, but you make it make sense of this is actually how energy and your spirit and, you know, shaman and that energy feel, like all of these words that can just be so overwhelming for people. You make it fun. You make it like, I want to play in it. I'm like, oh yes. Like what can I create? Like you make me feel powerful. And I think that is your superpower. So thank you. We love you. We are so, so grateful to know you and to have you on the show. And we have a couple more questions for you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for that reflection. I just love both of you so much. And this has been so much fun. It's just so much fun.
All right. You've already been here. First of all, your 3 gold stars.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So if you think about, 3 gold stars or things that can kind of help you step into the next level version of self, I think a lot of what we talked about today was really, really important. So get really intentional about how you're directing energy, because you're directing energy all day long, whether or not you're consciously aware of it. You're manifesting 24/7. And so when we're in those fear moments of saying like, what if it doesn't happen? What if I can't pay off the debt? I want you to change that dialogue in real time. And the way that I do that, I have these note cards that I have on my desk. I have them in my purse. I have them on my bedside table. I have them everywhere. And what it does is when I am in a moment of like, I'm thinking the opposite, I just pick the cards up that have affirmations on it of what I'm manifesting as if it already happened. And sometimes I can just feel the cards and just say like, that's bringing me back into my actual truth. Or I will read the affirmation again and that drops me back into my truth. So I think we have to really alchemize our limiting beliefs in real time. So I think get really intentional about what you want. The second one would be alchemize your limiting beliefs in real time. So recognize them, similar to what we were talking about. You're the one who is observing your thoughts. You're not the one thinking it. You're the one observing, right? And so it's this idea of like, are my thoughts serving me right now? And if not, how can I start to shift them? I love having visual representations of what I'm stepping into, whether that is a vision board that I have over here too, whether it's just simply the index cards. I read these before bed because we are manifesting in our sleep. If you've ever thought about something right before bed and then dreamed about that person or dreamed about that experience, what we're literally doing is we're adding energy to the thing that we're doing right before bed. So I think that third one is allow yourself to really manifest in your sleep in a way that's going to empower you versus take away. So if you're scrolling at night and you're looking at all of the gossip and then your dreams feel like chaotic, okay, that's because that's what you were feeding your brain right before you stepped into bed. Right. But if instead you say, I'm going to get really intentional for a minute, I'm going to read my affirmations, I'm going to read a book that's having me step into the next level version of myself, you are literally adding energy to that when you are connecting yourself back into source. That's what's happening when you're sleeping. You are literally allowing yourself to connect back into your greatest creation power. So why not feed yourself something that you desire to add energy to that you are intentional about right before bed? So I would say those would be the 3 things.
Oh, it's so powerful. I am success.
Oh yeah. When Andrew and I did a national sales meeting and other events, when we sleep in the same hotel room, we just play a meditation and it's this girl's voice that is kind of different, but she just goes, I am success. And she says it all different ways. I am success. I am successful.
I am. Yeah. It's like, but you think, when it starts, you're kind of giggling, and then all of a sudden, it's like
you're in a trance.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like
absolutely.
But I'll tell you, from the first of the year, I've started writing out goals before bed. I am putting dates on it. I have about 9, and I write it in the morning when I wake up. And if I remember, I do it before bed, and then I do 3 things I'm grateful for. And the way I sleep, I'm telling you, man.
Yes.
Whew, it's so good. It's like you are raising your vibration and you're in a weird way, you're telling the universe like, I'm going to bed feeling on fire, ready to reap all of the benefits. Like my mind doesn't even go to the rumination and the what I have to do tomorrow. It's like, a complete shift that stays. So what Christina's saying, I just want everyone to rewind, take it in, and actually do it. Like, it's one thing to hear it, but to take the time to do it so that you can reap the benefit.
Yeah. And you're the second person in this season to talk about the bedtime routine and how powerful it can be. And I feel like it's like, okay, Andrea, like Brooke said, do it. So come on, girl. I'm going to start doing this. This is exciting. And I love the idea of, we're all trying to sleep like a third of our life away every night. It might as well be more powerful and uplifting.
Mm-hmm. Let's be intentional about it. 100%. Yes. Yeah.
Like
So good.
Okay. Unleashing Ivy, surprise questions for you, Christina. I want to talk about one of your episodes. You talked about this, and this is something that I think I need to work on.
Oh, Lord.
Is, thinking about success and thinking about stepping in this new level and this expansion is how you dress yourself.
Oh.
Dressing for success, showing up as her. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like, oh yeah, I do feel better. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't actually care. Do I care what I look like? I don't know. So I would love for you to talk about why this matters, like what we're wearing on the outside when it comes to success.
Yeah, I love this. So this is so funny. One of my healers put me into this like deep trance where essentially like I was letting my subconscious speak. And my subconscious was coming through and it was like, how can she reach this next level version of success? And what I was saying, and it was so strange, it was like, change your shoes. And I'm like, it's like actually you have bigger shoes to fill metaphorically and also physically. Then I was recognizing and it was crazy. After I came out of this experience, I put my shoes on. I'm like, these feel kind of tight. I'm like, this is so weird. I've been wearing these for 4 years, my tennis shoes. I kind of feel like they're tight. And I'm like, this is so strange. And what I recognized was when I actually fully get ready in the morning, like, I work from home. So when I actually put on shoes that I feel good in and I come upstairs, I really am stepping into a new version of myself. It's like I'm taking myself more seriously. I feel like I'm like fully embodied in her. And I actually noticed a huge shift in my revenue when I started investing in the clothing that I was wearing. It's almost like because I felt more embodied in that version of her, people were feeling into that energy as well. And they were like, oh, like there's something to be said about like that energetic exchange and what people are feeling. And I remember actually reading online, and I forget who it was, but it was someone who was saying that he spent like $500,000 on like brand clothing, and it actually came back and he made an extra $4 million that year or something like exponentially more. And he's like, I only had to invest in the really nice clothing one time. And yeah, maybe I'll add a few signature pieces, but he was talking about how it made a direct impact on his revenue. And I noticed that for me as well. It was like, I was subconsciously telling myself I'm stepping into this next level version of me. I could feel it in my body. I was standing taller. And in that, people were feeling the energy and they were like, I think, as we lean into people that are kind of feeling into that, deep expression of confidence, we feel more confident in them, but I'm also one of those people that's like, when I'm at home, I want to throw on sweats too. So I think there's a both and, but I think when I'm in work mode, I really do like to kind of step into that new version of me, or just kind of like the more embodied version of that successful version of me. And it really does make an impact on the money that you make. It's pretty wild and pretty cool.
Yeah. I think too, maybe you could kind of talked about this earlier too, of like wearing the clothes and then getting your nervous system on board. Maybe it's like, I need to dress up and then do some deep breathing in the clothes and get like comfortable with
do the affirmations in the mirror.
Yeah.
In the new clothes.
Oh, yeah. You guys, I was in full breakdown when I started working with my stylist. I was like, absolutely not. I will not wear this. Thank you. Next box. And she's like, I've never seen someone alchemize energy so quickly, because she was putting me in stuff that actually felt like it was revealing a version of me that I was trying to hide. Ooh. So actually through fashion, I was uncovering parts of myself that I didn't realize I wasn't looking at, paying attention to, loving on. And I was recognizing she was wanting me to wear belts and tuck in my shirts. And I was like, well, I'm feeling bloated, so I'd rather wear an oversized sweater. And it was like, what if I started getting really serious about my health though? What if I could wear it like this and actually really acknowledge, like, why am I feeling bloated? Why am I trying to hide? What am I trying to hide? Yeah. And so it was like, all of a sudden when I was like, absolutely not, I'm not buying any of this. I swear it was like an hour later when I like let myself kind of go into it and say like, what's really going on here, Christina? Like, let's like unpack this a little bit. I was like, oh, there's something here that I need to heal. There's like a version of me that really wants to be seen and witnessed and loved. And can I give that to her right now? And so I did. And it was like all of a sudden, I saw a different version of me in the mirror. Same outfit, 1 hour later, but I put a new lens on because I decided I'm going to change the old lens that says I want to feel hidden, right? I want to like look tiny, right? My shoes are tiny, my oversized sweater, my huge glasses. I was bringing a part of me, the eating disorder part of me that I had in college, I was still bringing a part of her forward that was wanting to feel and look tiny. And it was like, girl, you've got big shoes to fill. It's time for you to really step into that. It's time for you to honor that success. And it's time for you to honor that version of you that wants to fully self-actualize. Love on her, heal that part of you. And it was like later, I was like, here's my credit card. Let's buy this. I'm good. She was like, whiplash. I'm sorry, what just happened? So there's something to be said about that. And just notice as you're up leveling, exactly as you said, Andrea, like we just have to use that 7-figure shift to calm your nervous system and feel good about stepping into that clothing.
Oh, Christina, so good. So good. Okay. Quick little follow-up question to that before I ask my real question. What I'm hearing you say is like, there's an underlying level of you have to trust because you're spending money that maybe you don't have yet. Right. Like there's no question that when I get my nails done, when I'm taking care of myself, when I'm buying things, even though I might not have the money yet, like it forces me to level up.
Yes.
But then there's that fear of, okay, but are you being dumb with your money? You know, like, is this financially smart when you're trying to make money, but you're spending money? And so just initially, like, what would you say to someone that does have that fear?
You have to change those limiting beliefs in real time or they will take over. So again, it's like the note cards, it's the starting to recognize like the shifting that needs to happen in the internal dialogue. So I was reading a book last night, Florence Scovel, I think that's her last name. I was reading this book last night and it was talking about this guy that was looking for just a really beautiful overcoat, like a fur overcoat. And basically she wrote this book early 1900s. So this guy at the time had something like $750 to his name. And he was trying to find this overcoat. He said all the ones that he was trying on felt cheap. They didn't look good. And then he finds the perfect overcoat and it's $500. And so he's like, okay, apparently I'm spending basically my life savings on this. But I know that as I put this on, because he had this sense of knowing. So he was telling himself a different story about the coat. He wasn't saying, oh no, what if I do this? What if that? Now you're feeding into the energy you don't want. Feed into the energy that you do want. When he put it on, he felt like a different version of him. He was a salesman, right? And he was like, I feel like a different version of me, honey. I think we need to do this. And she's like, reluctantly, his wife's like, sure. And so he does it. 1 month later, he has a $10,000 commission check come in because he stepped into a different version of him. He trusted that God was going to take care of him through this experience. God controls our income, not people. Can we trust in God more? That's number one. Can we start to really trust that God has got me through this? I'm good. If I feel it on my heart and I keep shifting my limiting beliefs, because again, those thoughts are an old version of you, step into the new version of you, tell yourself that new story in real time, it's inevitable that the money will come back in. It is inevitable. You just have to keep following that pattern. Shift the inner dialogue over and over and over again until it's neutral and normal.
So good. Thank you. Okay. Quick question. One book that has changed your life. Maybe when you were becoming a shaman, you were doing all of this work, you were rewiring, because clearly listening to you now, you're like, this girl knows what she's talking about. She's had some some awakenings. So a book that's really, really impacted your life. What comes to mind?
Yeah. Well, I really love Louise Hay, Heal Your Body from A to Z, like that Heal Your Body. That kind of blew my mind in a lot of different ways where it was like the body's telling the story of the soul. What is happening? There's something to be said about these big feelings that we're having and what the body is trying to teach us about it. So I think that really kind of opened me up to spirituality and recognizing like, oh, that's interesting. Like there's something to be said about the power of our thinking, the power of our emotions, and how we can start to actually shift that in real time. And that the body is not wrong for telling us these things. It's just trying to speak loudly so that we hear it, so we can change the internal dialogue. And then the symptoms start to release, right? It's just getting loud so we hear it. So that one really kind of blew my mind. The Secret, of course, is an amazing one that like I've read multiple times, but I will say when I read it most recently, I heard it differently. So sometimes, like I remember when I first read it, I was like, this is a bunch of baloney. I don't believe it. Next, but when you start to really embody the truth of like, if it feels good in my body, it's my divine truth. When you start to actually follow a lot of what is said in there without questioning it, because it does feel like, oh, can it really be this easy? It's meant to be this easy, right? Our mind loves to complicate things. Our mind is a problem solver. If there's no problems, it creates problems. So let's make it the humble servant to the heart versus the leader in the equation. Let's have the mind be the humble servant versus the leader, right? And so The Secret was a really powerful one. And just know that as you're reading it, you may need to listen to it or read it multiple times to have it really sink in. And I will say, The Complete Guide to Bob Proctor's Teachings, that's one of the ones I have on Audible. I just absolutely love that one. I listen to it often as well, where you could just have it playing in the background and he'll be saying things where you're like, well, that's really interesting. I heard that differently. He is notorious for saying that he has read books 40 times over and received something new every time that he did. It's kind of like we pick up the golden nugget that we need most in the moment. So know that anytime you're reading some book that really resonates with you, maybe when you get the intuitive ping, pick it back up again and read it.
Oh, so good. Thank you.
Ooh, I'm excited. I heard you talking about that book on your podcast too. And we're currently reading a Louise Hay book. Hayes book?
Louise Hay.
Hay. And I'm really excited to read that one too, because I've heard great things. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Okay, last question, Christina. We asked you this before, so I'm going to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could go back and thank Christina for a limiting belief she overcame, what was the limiting belief, and how did you overcome it?
There's so many. The big one was that I can make money doing what I love. That was just a big one that I had as an undercurrent for so long. And it was like, I want to lean into this. I want to get paid abundantly for this. I want to give into the world in the way that I'm most lit up doing. And so to do that, I had to honestly do several things. One, I had to kind of rediscover myself through that process of like, what do I actually love to do? So I went through a discovery process of saying like, first of all, what do I love to do? Second of all, what are the limiting beliefs that are in the way so that I can start to move those? And for me, it was like, I had to bring it into my conscious awareness. And then I had to recognize, when did that first happen? So, and let me go back and rewrite that. So similar to that quantum vision boarding experience that we did, Andrea, there's an exercise that I walk my clients through where basically we're going back to that moment in time and we're rewiring it. We're remembering it differently. Why? Because we can, right? Why? Because if it's going to live in my body, I want it to work for me and not against me. And so I had to go back into an inner child healing, kind of go back in and say like, what was the dialogue that I was receiving and how can I start to shift it? So like when I first launched my podcast, I remember the day before I went to launch it, I was like, absolutely not, I can't do it. And I'm like, what's that about? Like, why? I've done everything to set it up. All I have to do is click go. And I remembered there was a childhood memory of me singing a solo, my voice cracked, and all of these kids making fun of me. And I remember being like, oh, I need to go back and tell her it's okay to have a microphone. I need to go back and tell her it's safe. I need to go back and have her sing it in a way that she feels excited and proud of it, and like have people come up to her afterwards and be like, that was amazing. I loved it. So all I did was go in and rewrite it. And all of a sudden my nervous system was like, it's safe to have a microphone. It's safe to be seen in my power. It's safe to be witnessed in what I love to do. So that's how I've, really allowed myself to move through and kind of counteract some of these limiting beliefs. Is they started somewhere. Where did they originate? And start to move them in whatever way works best. That's one of the ways I love to do it. Rewrite the memory. If it's going to live in your body, and if the only thing that's really true is this now moment, how do you want it? How do you want to remember it? And just go in and shift it.
So beautiful.
Again, showing the people how powerful we humans really are.
Yes.
You have the power to rewrite a memory, to see it in a different lens.
Yes.
Just, are you willing to see it in a different lens?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the big part. Am I willing to do it? And sometimes we think, oh, it can't be that simple. Try it and then come back and let me know, because it absolutely can. and has been that simple. But we have to say yes. We have to go in. It's like we can bring someone to the water, the horse to the water. They have to drink it. That's the most important part. Let yourself drink it for the sake of it being a game. What's the worst? It doesn't work and you're stuck where you were before. Okay. Yeah. Let it be a game. Let it be fun. Choose into it. See what happens.
Yeah. And let it be easy. You know, going back to the mind loves to complicate things. It's like, what if it was easy? Like, what if it was this simple? Why can't it be?
Yes. Yes. Like, what if it could be simple? I ask myself that question often. What if I let this go? What if it could be simple? Yeah.
Well, and that's what you help people do is why wouldn't it be simple if you're tuning into what you love? Yes, and exactly. I mean, obviously there's nuance in business to figure out a way to, you know, however that's going to show up in the world, but you're just getting back home in your body and what you love. And it's exciting to think about those things. And sometimes you need someone like you to help them. So I'm so happy that you stepped into your power, that you tune into yourself, that you figured out a way to hit record and post to the world. I'm so happy. Yeah. We're so grateful for your time, Christina. And I know you'll be back again. But thank you for putting this, like Brooke said, in a way that we can use it. We can, you know, have this life that we desire, that is us to the core, instead of living somebody else's life and feeling resentful and the negative energy. Thank you for walking us through how to do that. We are so grateful.
Honestly, it's my deepest pleasure. I'm so grateful, Andrea and Brooke, both of you, for creating this space for people to tune in and to find their deepest truth and to just honor what their body, mind, and spirit desire to do. So just thank you guys so much. I just absolutely love what you're doing here and in all the spaces that you play. You're making just a massive impact on the world. And I'm so grateful for both of you.
Thank you.
We love you. And I feel like this is a weird question to ask because everything that has come out of your mouth has been gold. But we leave our listeners with a piece of gold, a quote that speaks to you. Would you please send our listeners off with yours?
I just love it. So, you know, the beautiful part about this is find your own version of gold. Like I named my mastermind Transcendence because it's meant to say, what is your unique heaven on earth? What is your unique version of gold? So the more that you can tune in to say, like, what does that look like for me? And honor it and follow it, because you are playing a unique note in the symphony that everyone is playing in. And like, there is something so beautiful about the harmony that when we are being so unique and honest and true about the note that we desire to play, it makes the symphony of life that much sweeter. So follow that gold, allow yourself to fully lean into it. And it's just going to make the world around you that much sweeter.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.
Are you kidding me?
God, this girl's good. This woman is on fire.
That like gave me full body chills.
I love it.
Oh, wow.
Christina, that was so good.